and watch a movie, call watch a movie, then we review it. Hey, what did you think? And this is our show, and it's called Kool Flix. It could be your new favorite show, Kool Flix, movies and more. I tried to find the right YouTube video to make my life feel alright and fill all my holes, but now I think I finally found it. It's called Cannibal Album.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Kool Flix. I suppose you're wondering why we're outside in the dark rain.
We haven't left our Kool Flix movie zone for 8 hours almost, after watching the film Sátántangó.
Yeah, today on the show we're going to look at Sátántangó.
Sátántangó is an insanely long drama film from the country of
Hungary.
And believe me, have a snack ready, or by the end of this movie, you're gonna be real hungry. Clocking in at 7.5 hours long, and scenes that don't have a fast pace to begin with, it becomes almost like a challenge to watch this movie.
It's almost like the director hates other movies so much that he wanted to make one that is the complete opposite of any movie you'll ever see.
It's a movie that makes me thankful to go out into my shitty life after I watch it, and that shows just how effective the movie is at representing a terrible time.
The movie starts out, it's all in segments, and the first segment is called The News is Coming, but there's a little prelude before that where the film, it opens with a bunch of cows.
The film opens with a typical scene from Wisconsin. Cows taking over a village. No people anywhere, the cows are in charge now. What happened to this little village to make it so the cows are the only ones I see?
And these cows aren't very good actors. They pretty much immediately break the fourth wall. They come over to the camera kind of like checking it out. And
one of the cows started having sex during the scene and they didn't even cut it. Like they didn't even have another take to use.
Once they had the cows on screen, they were gonna do their whole take. This shot lasts for about 7 minutes and they pan over the entire village where the rest of the action of the movie is going to take place. And all the while we're looking at these cows, we don't know why they're important. There's this sort of droning sound, like Inception.
We're quickly introduced to this entire cast of characters. Everybody in this
What
town.
a lively bunch.
What a lively bunch. The first person we meet is a cool guy named Futaki, who's staring out a window after having just lain with Mrs. Schmidt, the town nice lady. Her husband comes home, and Futaki, this is during the first episode, he sneaks out.
He goes into the other room and he listens to Mrs. and Mr. Schmidt talking, and they're hatching a plan with Craner to steal the money that they got from selling the cows. And then Futaki, he's in the other room after laying with Mrs. Schmidt, and he's like, oh man. So then he sneaks out, and then he goes across the street and hides behind a building for a second. And then he goes and knocks on the door and is like, hey, I hear you guys have a plan. I want in on it.
That took about an hour of on-screen time, what he just explained, because the movie labors. Every single scene is as long as it could possibly be. Every shot. It is an endurance movie, but it does embed you in the town, and you really have to get to know these people because you have to stare at them for 20 minutes with nothing happening in some of the shots.
Futaki and Schmidt, they kind of talk for a bit.
The basics of the movie is it's a communal farming town where the profits of their entire year's work has been put in the hands of this guy who's responsible for doling it out to everybody in the town after they sold their farm.
Mrs. Kramer, she knocks on the door with Schmidt and Futaki, and she's like, Erasmus and Pubson, they're coming back to town. They know what to do with the money. They're gonna be at the pub. And that's kind of the end of the first episode, which is like 30 minutes long. And then the second episode starts, and it's called We Are Resurrected. And it jumps over to the two characters that Mrs. K was talking about. So we're sitting with these characters, Erasmus and Pib. Erasmus and Pib
are at a bar. They order drinks. The stupid bartender gives them short shots. They wanted tall shots. They're tall shot kind of people. They want all the liquor.
So immediately they start threatening the bartender with violence. And all of a sudden they hear this kind of weird droning sound, and they're like, who's singing? And the whole movie just stops for a good 2 or 3 minutes, and they're just kind of all staring up into space. But before that, they're at this government bureaucracy building where the government people are like, we've been watching you, you guys have been out on parole or something, and you haven't tried to get a job, you're useless, you're pathetic, what's wrong with you? You're gonna be on our payroll now, you're gonna report on the people in this village. You're working for us, you're narcs.
The people in the town are waiting for the return of this important guy who they thought was dead. The important guy is coming back to spy on them, essentially, for the government.
This might sound like a lot's going on, but everything is drawn out as slowly as possible. You have to see them walking everywhere. You have to see them going through the mud. And when they're walking back to the town, there's just a long shot of them walking in this muddy street. And when they're in the city, there's this huge, really long shot of them walking with all this garbage blowing all around them, the Erasmus and the Pib. And they get back to the town, and all of a sudden you get all this exposition from this kid.
The characters return to town. They say, did you tell the townspeople we were dead? And the kid's like, yeah, I told them you were dead, guys. Now can I sleep with Mrs. Schmidt as per our deal? And then the guys are like, no, but I'm gonna sleep with Mrs. Schmidt. The movie's really just about sleeping with Mrs. Schmidt.
Yeah, that is a big facet of the film.
As we stumbled through trying to summarize this plot, I don't even feel like we can really even do it for some reason.
We can. All right, so after the plot, they're about to arrive at this bar that everybody's waiting for them to come to tell them about the money. The movie decides to jump back to Futaki looking out the window. And he's looking out the window, and we're seeing somebody watching him through these binoculars, and we cut to this guy called the Doctor. And the Doctor, he's sitting in his house, and he's writing down in this notebook about every little thing that Futaki does. I guess all he does is he stares out his window all day and he spies on the people of the town and writes down, and he's got all these notebooks telling exactly what they've been doing.
It's actually really funny. You watch things happen in the town and they happen at a languid, absolutely slow pace. Like that scene where he's cheating and then he walks out and then he walks back in. That takes forever. And then the movie has the Doctor character re-summarize it slowly, writing the whole thing in his notebook.
Between labored breaths.
He's like Stevie from Malcolm in the Middle, and like he's explaining the boring stuff you just saw. So the movie like doubles down and triples down on how slow it is until you're at the pace of the movie almost.
So all that stuff, all that movement we talked about, that's 2 hours of the film. And then we get to this Doctor guy, and the next chunk of film is an hour long. And 45 minutes of that hour is him sitting in the house, writing down what Futaki does. He gets up, he goes and he gets some notebooks and he draws a picture, and he's got a bunch of pictures of the view outside his window.
They're all the same.
And then Mrs. K comes over, Mrs. Kramer. She's the one that said Erasmus and Pib are coming to the town. And she's like, I've been delivering your groceries for a while, but it's too muddy. I'm not gonna do it. And the Doctor immediately is, get out! Get out of my house!
I'm working!
And she's got this look on her face like he just slapped her. She's almost in tears.
She suggests that he go to the bartender to help him, to deliver him his meals, and he's just like, damn woman. And then he writes down in his notebook what we just saw, and it takes even longer than when it happened. He goes to the bathroom.
We have to watch him go over to the bathroom, and he pours some water into the toilet, which, it only flushes if you pour water into it. Earlier, a character describes him and is like, he's got this nice brandy, but his house stinks. Why does it stink? And because of the toilet.
It pisses everywhere.
So he waddles back to his chair, and I think he sits down. He has to stand up again for something in meticulous detail, as slow as possible, and then he goes towards his shelf and he falls down on the ground.
He goes boom, like a classic pratfall.
This is the most exciting thing that's happened in this whole movie so far.
Mm-hmm.
And the camera slowly drifts down, and we watch him on the ground and just goes over his whole body. And then when he goes and he crawls over to bed and he gives himself this shot of insulin or steroids. But I think before he fell down, he realized that he was out of fruit brandy. So that's probably what made him collapse.
I think this is the perfect time to mention our sponsor for this episode, Fruit Brandy. Drink fruit brandy. It's clear, but it tastes like it's got some color to it, but it's just fruit brandy.
So the Doctor, he waddles out into the day and he comes across these two prostitutes, and they talk about how everything's hopeless, the money doesn't matter, yada, yada, yada. And then he stumbles out, he's going to the bar to try to get a refill on his brandy, And as he's about to get to the bar, this little girl runs up to him and she's got some kind of object or something.
Doctor,
please help me.
Doctor.
And he's almost to the door to get the brandy. Get away from me, I need my brandy.
I will not be stopped from my brandy
And
now.
this is all shown from really far away in the distance, so we don't really get the details. But then the little girl, she runs off into the woods and he starts to follow her. And he's running after her and then he collapses. And it cuts to the next morning and this driver guy finds him and puts him in the truck and takes him off to a hospital.
If this sounds dull, you're actually on the edge of your seat because all this stuff is so exciting compared to just the silence of most of the shots.
The next part's called Unraveling, and that follows the girl.
The movie is structured in an interesting way where it'll go forward in time and then jump back to like a little bit before what you just saw.
Just like
and
a
then,
tango, step forward and back.
It's like
a
dance.
mathematical
I
formula.
can't dance. Ask any girl I've ever met. So I didn't understand the movie was like a dance. So we're introduced to the real protagonist of the film, in my opinion, little girl. She's dirty and she wears sad clothes and she just looks sad.
Her name's like Eurythmic or some weird name.
She's got a silly name. The characters in the movie don't even like it. They think her name is
Her dad is like, I hate that name.
not even worthy of a person because she has such a crappy name. She lives in this she lives in a chair.
Sorry.
Do you want me to cut?
She
Whoa.
lives in a chair.
She lives in a chair. We meet this little girl and she goes for a walk and she finds like her brother or just a boy in town, and together they bury some money. And she seems to think it's her money too.
Apparently she's been playing too much Animal Crossing and she really believes that if you plant money in the ground, it's gonna grow a money tree. As I'm sure we have all done.
Her only friend in the world seems to be a little cat. By friend, I mean somebody that can't leave and has to hang out with her. Because the little girl tries to talk to her mom, and her mom is kind of like,
Get out of here, I got somebody coming over.
I got a special friend and you gotta sit outside while we do something.
So she instructs her daughter to go sit in a chair, and it's the saddest looking chair you've ever seen. Not only is she not allowed to play, she's supposed to just sit in a chair and be quiet outside in the Hungarian countryside where it's just raining and muddy. Instead, she escapes the chair and goes and climbs in through a hole in the barn where she has this sort of little den where she plays with this poor kitty cat. And then comes the scene in the movie that you don't ever forget. That scene. That scary scene with the cat. Where they don't make movies like this no more because you can't do that to cats anymore. No. If you don't like animals being tortured, this movie's gonna be tough. But I think this scene is like really, really important to...
Yeah, the whole film kind of pivots around this scene, but it is shot in a way where any way you look at it, I've read the director's comments on it, it's not technically animal abuse in the sense that the cat wasn't inflicted with bodily harm. The next day, I'm sure the cat wasn't super traumatized by what they do to it, but at the same time, it does go into this realm of ethical questions. How do you feel about making a cat feel uncomfortable for your 7-hour Hungarian film?
Right.
I personally found it ethically questionable.
She plays with the cat in a way where it's really there's a lot of subtext. Like she's treating the cat as just though what's the line she says, like, you can't stop me, I'm stronger than you.
Yeah, you can't stop me.
And
You're
she's
helpless.
like sort of dancing with the cat, but like she's rolling it around like a crocodile trying to kill its prey, basically, in this dusty barn. And it's so long, like everything else in the movie, you're just forced to sit with it forever. And eventually, I think the shot that really did it for me is when she puts the cat into this net that's hanging from the ceiling. And if you ever played with a cat, you know about his little paws with his little beans, and I just thought about all those little fingers going through the holes in the net and how uncomfortable that would be if I was a cat having little, and it's trying to go like this.
Any way you look at it, they took this cat and they put it in like this net thing for about 2 minutes, and it doesn't like super struggle. It's more just like, why did you guys put me in this net? But still, they don't treat the cat nicely.
They torture the cat, and she goes inside and prepares a little bowl of milk for the cat, and then she adds a secret ingredient, which you might have thought it was sugar, but in this town...
I thought it was powdered sugar.
In this town, it's not sugar, it's rat poison. Everything is rat poison, and so she poisons her kitty.
Yeah, she sits with the cat, and she makes it drink in the milk, and she kind of like shoves its face in the milk a little bit.
Well, the cat tries to leave. The cat tries to run away, and she's like, how dare you try to leave a good time with me? And so she basically kills the cat so it can't leave, and carries around a dead cat after that. It's almost charming. It's kind of almost like a Tim Burton movie, you know, like Coraline, if it was animated claymation, a girl with a dead cat, and she's like being precocious running around.
She walks around with this cat, and we see the sequence with the doctor. She runs up to him, and I guess first she goes to her brother.
She goes to her brother, hold dead cat in tow, and is like, "Where's the money, bro?" And he's like, "That was my money. Get the hell out of here."
Yeah, he stole the money from the tree that they planted.
He doesn't say anything about her holding a dead cat.
Yeah, the whole time she's holding the dead cat in this rat poison. She's just
yeah, it's pretty obvious.
And he's
something's
just like,
not right.
I don't. And then finally he notices something's amiss. Where did you get that rat poison? Did you steal that? What are you doing?
And then he says, "I'll be watching you," and then he doesn't watch.
Then she marches off, and then we see her kind of walking for a long time.
The townsfolk are waiting for the
Erasmus and pub
to arrive, and while they're waiting, they're just getting absolutely schlitzed in the local bar.
Yeah, and she watches them for a bit and just kind of has this blank stare with her dead cat.
She runs into the doctor, says, "Doctor, doctor." Runs into the woods after that.
Yeah, and she runs away from him. And then there's this really long shot of her walking on the road where she does start to look distressed, probably about what she'd done. And that scene is, it kind of feels like a bad dream where like if you've done something in the dream and you feel guilty, this thing happened, I can't walk away from it. I can't get away from this thing. And then she goes to this, it looks like a dilapidated church or something, where she lays down and she takes the poison herself and has this brief LSD moment that a narrator describes, and then she dies.
So she has it's kind of like a bittersweet ending. For her.
Oh no.
No.
Then the film goes to what was happening in the bar, basically. Earlier they had like a little scene in the bar where people were like, they're coming, Erasmus, and now we're seeing them wait for them, and they're all just getting drunk.
You feel like you're just in a party that you don't want to be at, watching these people drink and grab at each other, and it's just depressing. But everyone's having a great time.
This episode is called The Devil's Tit, Satan's Tango. Presumably that's where the film gets its title.
So is drinking drinking from the devil's tit?
That's drinking from the devil's tit, and then getting schlossed while somebody is dying or off to commit suicide is the Tango of Satan, maybe. There's not much to say about this segment because it's literally just this repetitive song played on the accordion and these people just dancing around. It's a good 30 minutes of film of just them doing that. And there's like a brief scene where I think the schoolmaster guy, this dude with the mustache, he dances with Mrs. Schmidt, and he's like, you should go with me. Mr. Schmidt's a schmuck.
You need to be with someone sensitive like me, the schoolmaster.
And this sequence feels like it will never end, but then eventually it does, and there's a hard cut to all the townspeople standing around the little girl. She's dead.
She's dead, and the guy we've been waiting for to arrive this whole time, Aramis or whatever, he's there, and he's pissed. And he delivers an epic speech to these people, chiding them for their just woeful inconsideration of those around them. That he says some classic things like, if no one's to blame, then who killed this girl, you know? She's the innocent one, and you were all getting drunk, and just look at you. He wasn't even in town.
No, yeah,
Easy
I
for-
wasn't
easy
even
for
there.
him to say, yeah.
I was off
I mean,
plotting,
it's not my fault. I
plotting
wasn't
how
there.
to steal your money, and then you're here getting drunk, waiting for me, letting this girl die?
So he gives this really long and pretty great speech, and basically he guilts everybody into giving the money back. So everybody's gotten finally paid for their year of work from this farm that got sold. And he says, basically, if you feel bad about this dead girl, you should give me back the money so that we can start a new commune and escape this totally ruined town that you guys have just...
I know this manor, it's like a big mansion. We're gonna build a new commune all around it. We're gonna start over.
Fresh start.
Yeah, it's the ground itself is poisoned here. We gotta get out.
Yeah.
Give me all your money.
So they give him the money, and they march off to go hide in this manor. The Aramis goes back to the people that he talked to at the beginning of the movie and gives his report of this commune that he came from.
Yeah, he goes to a bar and he's like, give me your bean soup, and they give him some like with ham in it. And they give him some like bean soup with like a dead big chunk of disgusting looking ham. It looks like a fetus. And he starts writing this report. And also he has this guy come in called the payer, because the girl's brother, the girl that died, her brother is with them now. He's in on the whole plotting thing. And this guy comes in and Aramis is like, I need some explosives. And the guy's like, let me think about that one. I'm not sure. And then he leaves, and we never see him again. We never really hear about the explosives again either. But yeah, he starts to write this report, and then this sequence is kind of slow. And by this point, the movie's 5.5 hours in, and every single thing has been so slow. And they're at this bar, and they have to go, and we have to watch them go to sleep. This movie, it keeps showing people literally falling asleep. The doctor falls asleep when he's writing about the people. One of the people at the bar falls asleep, and now Aramis and Pub and the brother, they fall asleep at the bar.
A lot of times people are just looking boredly at something, and it looks like me watching the movie, and it forces me to reflect.
And then the next part, it jumps back to the people, I think, at the manor. And this is kind of like a non-episode, honestly. The movie, I feel like it's starting to almost have this sense of hopelessness where nothing's gonna happen. The plot's not gonna move forward. These characters' lives are so pointless. We hate every single character in the movie.
No one's redeemable, really.
No one is
at all.
redeemable. And we hear all their dreams, and they're all kind of just, oh, he's not coming back. And they all go to bed, and there's this really long shot of an owl as they kind of discuss, oh, what are we gonna do if he doesn't come back?
He does come back as they're about to start fighting each other. They're going all Lord of the Flies without Aramis there in his cool trench coat and his hat and his bag of money to tell them what to do. He does eventually show up late, and he basically tells everybody, I'm sorry, we can't actually live in this cool manor that I found for you. It's too hot right now. The feds are after us. They don't like the way we're living. They don't want me to let you have a nice life. So he just tells everyone their individual assignments, and he sends everybody from this town off, scattered through the county, to do different things. He's got work for some people. He's got like a shed to sleep in for others.
They're just gonna be scattered because I guess he couldn't get a bomb.
What I think is going on is he wanted to put everybody in the manor and then blow it up with a bunch of explosives.
But then the budget wouldn't allow for it.
The budget wouldn't allow for it, yeah.
So basically, earlier on, he has to report to these officials, and he's a narc. And then he comes to the town, he takes their money, and he sends them to this manor, and then he's like, we got a new plan. I'm gonna make you guys narcs. And then another character, the doctor, he's spying on everybody. He's like a narc. This movie's sort of about these webs of everybody looking at each other, and he's watching him, and it's almost like predictive programming or something, because this was made in 1994, right kind of at the birth of the internet. And now we're living like in this social sphere of everybody's watching everyone else, everyone's reporting on everyone else. And I don't know, maybe it's like living in Russia or in Hungary under Soviet control in the 80s.
Yeah, spiders, webs, cows,
Dead cats.
It's like it's like
perpetual defenselessness.
It's like that animal game where you learn the sounds that the animals make gone horribly wrong. Every animal is screaming. I'm gonna go get a roast beef and cheddar out of my car.
You got a roast beef and cheddar in your car?
Can you just talk for a minute? Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
So yeah, everybody's story's kind of ended. The only character that doesn't do the plan that Erasmus has is this Fataki character, the cripple. He's like, I'm not gonna go off and do whatever job you're having me do. I'm just gonna become a watchman at a chocolate factory like I wanted to do at the beginning. So he goes off and he doesn't quite fall for it. And then we get this, by this point in the movie I've kind of disengaged because there's nothing really interesting that's gonna go on. We don't care about anybody. But then they have this really fun chapter that kind of drives the spying on each other point home with these two clerks. They're reading the report that Aramis wrote about all of the characters in the town.
It's like a roast of everybody in town.
It's like a hardcore roast of every single character in town. If you thought you didn't like them, Aramis hates them 10 times more, and he has terrible things to say about them.
He has awful things. He's so mean. He calls everybody like dumb like cows and dumb buffaloes and stuff.
Yeah, he's so mean.
He rips everybody apart.
They're just infants and they're all sexually immature, and they're just...
The guys are translating what he wrote to make it less like, less me, like, use more official language.
So they'll take a phrase like, she's a bloody cow who sleeps with everybody. And then they're like,
low intelligence, purveyor of easy conjugal visits.
Yeah. Sometimes their descriptions are almost a little bit more mean, but this sequence is really fun. And then halfway through their report, they stop and they get a snack.
No, the movie, no dialogue, shows their break.
Yeah. They sit down and one guy takes out a pickle. There's like a jar with one pickle in it, and he takes out and he gets some cheese and some bread, and they just sit there and they do that, and it's just par for the course.
After that really kind of fun scene. It cut back to the doctor.
Go back to the doctor.
The doctor had to go to the hospital because he got too drunk and fell asleep
Or
in the
maybe
rain.
he got too sober.
Yeah, whatever. He sobered up and his body couldn't take it. And he gets back from the doctor, and everybody in town has left except for like the angry
13
bartender.
days have gone by, and he sits back down in his chair, and he's like, everybody is hiding from me. The hopelessness must have gotten to them. They must be sitting in their beds staring at the ceiling. This section's called The Circle Closes, and it's very accurate to what's going on.
I mean,
the doctor, he starts to hear this droning sound that opened the film, and he's like, what's that sound? And then he ventures out, and he goes to this bell tower chapel thing where there's no bell. And there's this guy in there, he's hitting this iron bar thing, and he's like, the Turks are coming, which might have something to do with Hungarian history, I don't know, but
maybe if you're Hungarian, that's like, oh, duh.
the ending of something is happening, the death has reached its. And then the doctor, he like walks away, and there's a really nice shot of him walking from the tower, and he sits back down in his house, and he boards up the window that he would stare out of all the time. He's come to some conclusion because he mistook the bells of heaven for the bells of death. And then he starts to write the first lines of the film that opened the film of Fataki looked out his window and he heard bells, even though there were no bells in the bell tower. And that's how the film ends.
Now that that's done, I just want to say, meh. No.
How did you feel about the film?
I felt like it was like, how far can you take a movie? Like, it's still a movie, but how long can you stretch it out? How unpleasant can you make it? How slow can you make it? How deliberate can every boring thing be? How metaphorical can the whole thing be? It's like artsiness to the extreme.
They sat down and they watched a 60s French film, and they said, how can I do that but 10 hours long and more drawn out?
Yeah, they go down the list of, the 100 greatest films, and they go through all these expressionist movies and go, popcorn flicks. Bunch of tripe for the masses. I'm gonna make a real movie where you really gotta pay attention. Exhausting experience.
Mm-hmm.
I would not recommend it to anybody except for people who really care about movies and like exploring the darkness of the human soul, meditative, languid experiences. If you just enjoy movies because they bring you pleasure and entertainment, I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a movie so wildly fluctuate in how I feel about it. Because there are times when I'm watching it, this is like a solid 4 stars. The cinematography is great. It's completely enveloping me in this mood. And I'm getting like the rhythm of it. But then there's other times where it's just, this is excessive tripe. It doesn't need to go this long. This shot doesn't mean anything to me other than just trapping me into watching the whole thing. My feelings would fluctuate. But
yeah.
It ends strongly though. Like, it does kind of click together pretty well by the end of it.
I think it's undeniably a good movie. The effort that's gone into this is good filmmaking.
Well, every shot is pretty much perfect. That's kind of the
beautifully
thing.
framed. The camera movements are really perfect, and it better be because you're watching every little thing. It's all shot on film. It's immaculate detail. At the end of the day, I'm not mad at it, but I think the movie was trying to piss me off.
I think the movie's mad at us.
Yeah, I feel a little guilty. I feel like I killed that little girl.
I feel like I tortured that cat because I watched that movie. I think the second half of the movie is pointing the finger at you. You didn't turn the movie off when that cat got hurt, when we messed with that cat, and now you're guilty for everything that happens after that because you didn't stop the movie there.
It's interesting, yeah. The cat and the little girl represent each other, I think, and then the circle's complete, yeah. Beautiful, like, stacking of metaphors and narrative allegories for the human condition. I think it's incredibly deep. Every line can be looked at. But then sometimes a character will just repeat the same line that has no meaning for 10 minutes straight in your ears, just yelling at you over and over.
This character has like a story that I saw Erasmus and Pib at the bar, and there were girls there.
It's when you're at a bar and a drunk guy's telling you the most boring story that's not even true, and he's just repeating, Are you the captain? Are you the captain?
Sometimes it does feel like drunk people philosophy, where a drunk person comes up and they think they've discovered all the secrets of the universe. But I don't know, I feel like the movie's pretty self-aware of that. But
we watched it in 2 parts, so I don't know what it's like to watch this movie from start to end. It goes up there with Grave of the Fireflies and these other kinds of movies where I watch it once and I'm good, I don't ever need to see it. It probably would benefit from repeat viewings if you were some kind of superhuman who could enjoy another
Do you like to sit down and read War and Peace on the daily?
Yeah, if you
Go
do
ahead.
a daily reading of Moby Dick. Stars ratings, it's like, what is a star rating system?
What does a star mean?
What does it
just
even
seems-
mean?
Are we just standing there observing?
What is a
people?
film even? I mean, what... is this the film that finally breaks the Kool Flixsters?
Well, I think I would probably give this movie a solid 4.5 stars. But I would probably give it that in the context of as a film, that's how it like affects you or whatever. But given what they do to the cat, I don't think that sequence, no matter how important you think that will change audiences or whatever, it doesn't feel okay to harass a cat for your art. I think that undercuts the rest of the movie. I think they did it probably as ethically as they could have, given what they wanted to achieve, but I don't think they needed to do it that way. I think it goes too far, and I think it undercuts the rest of the film. And I feel like,
Yeah, it's gross to watch a real things happen, but I think that's what they were doing with the movie.
yeah,
They
sure,
were
it's
allowed to do it, and they did
it becomes like a moral thing, and I feel like I have to penalize the movie. If that cat, if they didn't harass it, or if they had like PTA, animal like protection people observing it, but from what I've read, they only had a veterinarian observe the cat. So they didn't have a lot of oversight, and I don't think the filmmakers cared enough about the cat.
Well, given the attitude of the film, I think they've got bigger things on their mind.
Sure, but
cats.
if you can't look at the life of like one thing that can't consent, and if you use that to prove a point, I think it discounts the point you've proven.
I agree. I think that's really
So I feel like
yeah.
4.5 stars if outside of the cat issue, but with the cat issue, I have to give a very firm no, take off like 3 stars, because I think
We don't condone
I don't
animal
condone
cruelty
that.
on this
I
show.
know.
Not even
I
if it
want to
makes
put
it-
my foot, yeah.
And it's not like the movie is a tight hour and a half, and it is long and intentional, and everything is forever. And they knew exactly what they're doing with showing us that cat torture. And
Yeah.
I think that they could have done it. The rest of the movie doesn't rely on any kind of like exploitation to.
The stuff with the cat, when they roll with it, I can believe that they trained the cat and it didn't wag its tail. It didn't look like it was going to scratch the girl or anything. But the stuff with the cat in the bag with the net, and then like the girl shoving the cat's face in the milk a little bit, the cat didn't like that. You shouldn't harass cats for your movie. Like, I think
Yeah.
it hurts the art. I don't think it helps the art. And yeah, it effectively makes me cringe, but it also takes me out of the movie, and it makes me think of you abusing a cat, not you making a good film. So yeah, so what's 4.5 minus 3? That's 1.5
Oh my God,
stars.
1.5 stars for
I guess.
Tango. Try harder next time. Well, let me
with the caveat of animal, cruelty stuff. But without that, 4.5, sure, great filmmaking, effective.
Yeah. I'm gonna say. I'm just gonna copy what you said about the stars. You could have done it without hurting the cat. You had the cat. Put him in some little mittens on his feet. Cats hate that. He'd be like, ah! It doesn't actually hurt him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they went to extremes with it, but still, I don't know. I think they went a little bit too far.
I don't know. No, I can't even finish my roast beef, actually. Just kind of gross. So I'm gonna give it 1.5 stars too. I mean, it's a great movie. I mean, they got amazing cinematography.
Yeah, perfect
Study the shots,
cinematography.
but watch it at like 5 times speed.
Unquestionably a great piece of cinema, probably one of the most important pieces of cinema of the 20th century.
It's an artifact of there won't be too many movies like this where extreme things like that happen with like kind of the mainstreaming of society, and like I don't think people make these kinds of like guerrilla like really visceral movies anymore. And there's other parts in the movie where people could have gotten hurt, I feel like. I mean, the actors are like smashing this
But they have
cabinet
consent.
Of course, yeah, they're adult humans, yeah. It
Yeah.
also was a child actor.
Yeah,
wrestling
also
with
a
the cat.
child actor. She's probably like 12 or something.
Yeah, and her parents
so-
are like, keep acting, dear.
I did a lot of research online about the whole issue, and I don't feel like the director has a good enough statement about it. I feel like they needed to have animal protection people come in and oversee it, and they needed to give like some kind of seal of approval. Like, if you want to go that extreme, you need to take all of the necessary precautions, and I don't think they did.
Yeah.
From what I've read, maybe something will come up. Maybe they'll release an article tomorrow and they'll give me a detailed explanation of every single thing why they didn't mess with the cat. But just sitting down and watching it, and from what I've read online, I don't know.
It'll certainly stick with you, this movie.
Yeah.
You'll never forget it. As much as you might want to. Altogether, 3 out of 10 stars? It's one of the worst rated movies we've ever done. It's like worse than. So
what would you give it out? Okay, but removing the animal
if I didn't care about that, I would say it's like because it's so long. It's like daring you to tell you it's bad that it's so long. It's like, are you gonna take points off because I held this shot for 10 minutes, or are you gonna accept that I'm just being daring and badass?
Bro, come at me.
Like, bro, yeah, I'll hold it longer. I don't even care. The more you don't like it, the longer I'll hold it. You gotta admire that. You gotta accept that, like, they were trying something different with the form of a movie, you know, I think. And other people have done experimental, crazy long movies, but I think that, you know, if I take that out, it is like an incredible piece of, it's incredible, all the shots. There's huge crane shots. There's just like, yeah, I can't give it a bad rating as a movie, because even though it's too damn long, it's like, dude. The amount of filmmaking, like pure cinema or whatever they say in this movie is like top to bottom, tons of it. You know, you watch the new Tomb Raider movie, and it's like you're lucky if
it does make every like fast edited movie look like nauseous trash.
Yeah, I think we'll have to sit with this movie. It was too epic to like really get it. Maybe our next review will be like of like, you know, Avengers 2 or something, and then we can compare a normal movie to that movie, and I'm excited for that.
But outside of the animal abuse issue,
I would give it like a 4.5. It's like an amazing piece of cinema. I mean,
so we're saying like 9 out of 10, but with the animal thing, it's 3. So yeah.
But yeah, still too long though.
Let's check out one more clip.